want to talk about stress. I was just having a conversation with a friend and we're talking about stress and how it all works in our lives. It kind of got me thinking, like, some of the stress that we put on ourselves is avoidable. So we have avoidable stress and unavoidable stress. So there is some stress that we can't avoid, but there's a lot of things that we can avoid. And most of that is actually just the expectations that we have on whatever it is that we're doing. And it also can be if we can feel really stressed too if we've got a lot of emotional stuff happening. So if we've got a lot of things happening that are bringing up a lot of emotion in us, or they're quite an emotional driven event, what happens is we get overwhelmed in that. Whenever we've got all this stuff happening, we've got a little bit of our attention on all of it. And so when we have a bit of our attention on all of it, we start to feel overwhelmed and we start to feel stressed. And then the idea of, putting more on our plate just seems to make it even worse. But stress itself, it's funny because so many different things can happen. So if we've been under stress for a long period of time, it can actually change us. And our body pumps chemicals into our system to help us in the moment of stress. But what actually happens if that goes on for a long period of time, it can actually change the makeup. And so things, and it makes us susceptible to so much stuff like heart disease or high blood pressure or, weight issues. Some people can lose a lot of weight when they're highly stressed and other people stack it on. I know for me, last year when I was super stressed with everything that was happening, and mine was emotionally driven stress because I had a lot of events happening that were quite emotional, and so it was quite overwhelming for me there. And so my system was just not handling it either, and that's what happens. Like, we'll stack on weight, or we'll get really emotional, or we'll get really, another way that we try and handle our stress is, instead of looking at our workload or looking what's on our plate and going, what, I need to delegate some of this out. I need to look at this and go, well, what actually can I avoid here? And a simple thing might be, sitting in traffic, driving to work causes you stress. So maybe maybe organise with your boss to leave a bit earlier or get in a little bit later, so you're actually avoiding the traffic time. And that can help reduce your stress. So some things we can look at and go, you know what, I can actually avoid that. But I know sometimes there's things that's unavoidable. If your boss stresses you out, or your boss says something to you all the time and makes you feel kind of not so great, you can't avoid your boss as much as we would like to. We can't always do it. So it's really looking at what is going on in your life and where can you maybe avoid some stress, and where is some unavoidable, and what are some things you can put into place. The other thing that we do when we're stressed is, and especially when we're driving it with emotion, is we can actually have perceived stress. So we can be putting an expectation on ourselves, or we can be trying to make our standards too high, and we're trying to achieve them, but because they're actually not doable, we put stress on ourselves, and then we kind of add that with fear, failing or not feeling successful or any of those things, and so that can contribute to us feeling stressful. So it's really just looking at your life and going, okay, well, what's going on in my life? What can I avoid? What is unavoidable, and what can I do about it? Can I maybe change my thinking patterns? Maybe I need to learn how to say no. Maybe I need to take better care of myself, because that's going to help me. There's lots of different things we can do to help remove our stress. It's not about learning to cope with more stress. It's about looking at what we've got and kind of going, what, I need to take some stuff off. And it's just that pressure, and we might be putting stress on ourselves because we leave everything to the last minute, and then it's like this mad rush to get stuff done. We might be putting pressure on ourselves because we try and take on too much. We're trying to do too much for other people. A lot of us mums do that. A lot of women kind of fall into this category where they're constantly giving to everybody and constantly doing for everybody, and then having all this pressure, and that adds that stress to us, and so then we get overwhelmed and we feel very emotional, and then we kind of feel like we're not coping at all. And so we really want to be looking at what is going on in our life that we're thinking is stressful, and how can I reduce it. And sometimes reducing the stress means making some hard decisions. I know for me, I had to make some really tough choices at the end of last year. I had to do a lot of changes because I needed to get rid of the stress. I needed to delegate it out and remove it. And so it can be hard to do that. But when we can put up those boundaries and go, you know what, no, I'm not doing that. No, I can't take that on anymore. I'm not going to step into that arena. What happens is we actually start to empty out our plate, and then we've got room, so much room. We've got room emotionally. We can start looking at what's going on in our life, and we can really piece together, okay, you know what, I can avoid that. I don't actually need to do that, or I don't need to put that expectation on me. It doesn't actually have to be done today. It could get done tomorrow. So you want to look at it. Anyway, I just wanted to share. But if you're really struggling and you've got a lot of stress and overwhelm going on, and you'd like to learn how you can move it or how you can avoid it, and like empty it out, basically. If you've got some of that happening, then, you know, send me a PM or comment below, or pop in the link and, you know, book in a free chat. Let's have a chat and see how we can help you remove some of the stress in your life, because we can actually do it. We can really break things down, and there's a really cool process to do that, where we can, you know, look at what's going on. We can look at where we're avoiding it. We can look at where we might need to put some skill sets in, and also noticing what it does to us physically as well. We can, you know, if we're tuning into our bodies, we can notice when stress is starting to happen. For me, I can feel it all in my shoulders and feel the tenseness, and that's kind of when I go, you know, when I notice I'm kind of doing that a bit, it's like, yeah, I need to look at what's going on around me, you know, because it's all about taking care of you and not putting yourself last.